Goodness, Ray. Had a blockage there for a couple of seconds there, Ray. So that'd be good, getting there early is a bit of a job, and I've got a bad back, and so has my son. Lifted a heavy piece of carpet the other day, and you have to be very careful. So even though it's embarrassing, I shan't be doing any lifting, and neither will my son. Which he just don't take the chance because he's in work by himself, you know what I mean? And me, I'm old and decrepit, so that gets me out. Okay, Carbon Mike. Now what have we got here? No, I cheat. I've got one of these control panels for the 19 set. But the arm, the cable and the good chunky thing, no. So I've just gone into the multi-plug and a small emitter follower, and does the job. And the microphone is a Common Garden, a microphone that drives the black boxes. I bought a box of microphones from Hamfest, and I just pick a microphone up and use that one and tailor things to it. So that's how we do it on the 19 set. Drink. Now that's something as well. I don't drink. In fact, when I'm out walking, even a 9-miler, I sometimes only have maybe a small flask of coffee or a small cup of tea. I very rarely carry a bottle of water with me. I think what is Ray, I'm gargle all the time, so I wouldn't know the difference. If you know what I mean? I'm gargle all the time, but man, I'll tell you what, I was once caught in a blizzard on the Cheviot Hills, and I was really up to my neck in it tonight, and I did get disoriented, and I had to pull myself really together to get out of the problem. And I sometimes wonder whether it was because I didn't have very much to drink. And on occasion, when I've done long walks as well, a simple map reading also becomes just a bit of a problem. And there you go. But that's me, I'm afraid. So yes, I try, but I don't succeed very often. And I don't drink a great deal here, just cups of tea. And barley water is what I drink at dinner times, Ian, barley water, or just plain water, if I can remember. I don't want to go on too long, lads. I haven't got this timer fitted, which I call the wind jammer, because I'm full of wind, so I'm going to pass it, although there's other things. But Ian, you're a strong signal, and your Fendek sounds fine. Martin, okay on the gears there, I take my hat off to you with the gears there, Martin, I really do. And good signal. And Keith was strongest signal, very, very strong. And it's interesting how things suddenly go bang in the night, isn't it? You know, working for yonks and then suddenly just bollop. That's it. So over to you, Ian. And looking at the clock, this will be my final, lads. I've got to go down. Sheila's going out to a local village hall, and I must confess, I'm sitting in my dressing gown here, and it's 10 degrees, but I'm getting tough. So I can stand the cold now a bit better. Right, lads, over to Ian, and I'll say bye-bye, but I will listen for a while. F4 VSC, Golf 3 Tango Sierra Kilowatt. Go ahead, Ian, please, over.
Golf 0, auctioneer.
Okay, well, that's a new one. Morning, Stuart.
Well, Colin, I'll say 7-3. You've got to do your wind jammer. You just got up. Stand by, we'll bring you in. You didn't get onto gale force there, so you don't need that wind jammer. But okay on your lack of liquid sustenance when you're out walking. Well, never mind. Do what you think is good for you. Ignore everyone else. That's probably not good advice, actually, thinking about it, but anyway. Yes, sticky grease. As I recall, that axle grease is horribly sticky stuff. I must admit, in some years since I did any car maintenance, it was done many years ago as a matter of necessity. Once I could afford to pay somebody to do it. That was as far as I wanted to go. But I certainly remember greasing up wheel hubs and things like that, which and I rebuilt a few engines as well over a period. I don't know if I could do that. Well, I probably couldn't now with all the modern electronics on them. And I certainly wouldn't want to. And well, Pete, sorry that you had that problem, because you were going along quite well on the LG 300. You were 5 and 9 plus 5. So I'm sure you'll get to the bottom of that. It's frustrating. And I had to on this KWS1, which I'm not using at the moment. I'm on the Bendix. I had to change the bias pot on that, the PA bias pot, which is on the front panel, because it had all sorts of dead spots, and it was giving problems, and I think was contributory to the problem that I have with the KWS one when I first got it. That and a dodgy cap. And in fact, the one that you described, Paul, I'm trying to think what value it was, I can't remember now. But anyway, I had to buy some from the States on the feeder into the PA. Anyway, what else? Okay, Colin, on nearly coming to grief in the Cheviot. Well, I did a similar thing when we were living up near Manchester, well, just outside Macclesfield, actually. There was a period in my youth when if there was any snow around, I'd go out and do handbrake turns and things in the snow. Gleeful behaviour. And on one occasion, when we were living up near Macclesfield, we were not far from the Snake Pass and the Coed Valley, and it was snowing, so we drove up there. Carolyn was with me, and I very nearly came to grief in the Snake in the Coed Valley, and I could have been there for days. I felt very foolish. I did get out, but it was touch and go. Right, let's move it on then to back up to you, Ray. Martin, I don't know if you've got you on the wireless at 19. G3BTD, Foxtrot Victor Sierra Charlie.
GW0FZY.
We've got Jan and Stuart in the list, Ray.
Yeah, okay, yeah. 3 no John is there from G3BTD. Yes, fine, Ian. Let me just get these. I'll keep it short. Okay, all logged. And then we can get it round the newcomers. Very warm to you, Ian. I don't think Ian was hearing you, so he did transmit over the top of you, unknowingly. And we got you. I think Paul heard you, and so did I. And wanted you, Stuart, good strong signal for an auctioneer. And wanted you just unusual strong signal with me. Yes, okay, so you, Martin, on the epicyclic drive, well, you've got a heart of a mind when you start these jobs, haven't you? But it's very, very rewarding when you actually go in with great trepidation and then the thing goes as you wanted it. And I've been in that situation many times, and very, very pleasing when the end result justifies the effort. And okay, the engine rebuilt in. Yeah, one of the reasons I love my dad dearly is he included me in everything that he did. Whatever he was doing, he used to do a lot of car repairs, and it was nothing to drop an engine out and completely rebuild it. And I always got included in all these jobs, and did my apprenticeship with my dear old dad, bless him. And he was a great guy, good engineer, all rounder. and never really neglected me, but everybody was doing, I was part of it, and we built sheds together and all sorts of things, so I learnt a lot from my dear old dad. Okay, on the 19 set audio, Colin, I thought it was a bit different to the normal format, but that's a standard I've got to try and live up to, so when I get this thing working on the screen modulator, I shall aim to have it sounding something like yours is, Colin. Anyway, let's get around the new joiners. It's quite a group, so I'm not going to ramble on. So the first one was round to Jan, and then if you can pass it on to Stuart, G0TV, and then Stuart, if you pass it on to Justin, GW0FZY, PA3FAU with the group, G3VTD.
PA3FAU, taken over, Jan, if you can hear.
Roger, Paul. M1 BBC in the morning then, Papa Alpha 3 for United, using the wireless F19 plus the high ball.
Peaking just over the 9 on the 19 set high power. Sorry to hear about the cold. Cold wind here, but not freezing. So have a great day, Jan. Goes to GB0. Sorry, GB. Let's try again. G0, TBI auctioneer. Then it goes to Justin, please, Stuart. And from Justin, it goes to Martin YJO. G0 TBI auctioneer, M1 PVC, not auctioneer.
I did announce yourself, Paul. You got it totally wrong. I did announce yourself as G0 auctioneer, HI. I could be GB later on, because we're going to test whether it's about time GB 100 RAF was back on the air. But it usually is only into Europe and to further afield on 20 metres. So I should be doing that after about 10:30. And I heard all the comments about people looking in boxes and also people sitting on the back side. Take note, Colin, if you want to help, you can just sit there with a catalogue and direct where things should go. And Paul, you'll get your knuckles wrapped if you look in boxes. Anyway, it looks like it's going to be a decent auction.
Yeah, but I don't care.
I've looked at the catalogue and it looks, not, you know, I mean, there's some interesting items, shall we just say. I don't think there's anything that's mega money there, but just a nice cross balance, I would have thought, a cross section. Anyway, good morning to you, Paul. You're 5 and 9. I heard Colin, who was 5 and 8 to 9. Ray, 5 and 8 to 9. I haven't heard much of you, Ian. I heard you acknowledge my G0 auctioneer call sign. Of course, it is G0 TBI to the avoidance of doubt. And Jan, you weren't too strong with me. I suppose about 5 and 3 at best. On the T15 unknown, I don't have a lot of time. I can probably take one more round. What else is there to add? Yep, a steady stream of food orders are coming in. A steady stream of food orders, so that's quite good. My plea on the on the email worked. Although I haven't had anything from Colin TSK or the other person that's going to sit on the back side. So if you're listening to this, Colin, today please send me your food order. Otherwise you'll have to have fish and chips around the corner.
or Chinese, I think it is. I don't think they've got a fish and chip shop in Bangington, have they? No, they haven't. That's me just slurping a bit of coffee. I've tended to drink coffee a lot more just lately, having been told that tea is a really good diuretic. Anyway, it goes to Justin, I believe. So it's easy, Justin. A bit too early to remember your call sign, but I trust you well. You were nice and strong on the call in there. And then I think somebody said it goes to YJ after that. From G0TBI.
GW0SZY returning. Yes, morning Stuart, and morning to everybody else on the net. Better late than never, as they say. And yeah, well, I'm on the Syncel 30 this morning with its RF amplifier. I was listening a bit earlier, but I've got a few. I was in two minds whether to come on, but when I heard Paul's comment about it was always quiet in the week, I thought, well, I'll listen for a bit, then I'll come on a bit later when the QRM subsides. It's always quite noisy on 80 in the mornings. But anyway, yeah, it's not a bad day here actually for the time of year. It's a bit grey, but it's dry. I suppose for a winter we haven't had masses of rain like we normally have here. It's been pretty good. Touch wood. But anyway, all good signals from everybody this morning. Ray, morning to you, Ray, 5 and 9, and I didn't hear Jan. Ian, F4PSC, also good strong signal. Let me see who I got on my list. Paul, strong as usual, 5 and 9 plus plus. Colin was probably about 5 and 9. Stuart, also 5 and 9, well over the 9, probably about 10 or 15. And Martin, when I was listening earlier on, also a good signal. I did hear Keith as well, but I think I'm not sure if Keith's still on frequency. He sounded like he had a slight technical problem there. But if you're still listening, Keith, you're actually a good strong signal into Swansea, so no problems there. What can I tell you? Well, I'm busy with a new, well, it's a bit of an experimental project at the moment. I'm building a linear with a pair of 833As. Well, actually, the Russian equivalent to those. So I've been sort of doing lots of metal bashing, working on the power supply, which is going to have some 872A rectifier, mercury arc rectifiers in it. I'm not having any semiconductors in the high voltage supply, so sort of going a little bit off piste with that one. But they should look very nice, if nothing else. It's going to be in a bridge configuration, so before mercury arc rectifiers, which should look the part anyway. Right, I'll keep it going. I think goes over to Martin next. T3 YJO in the group from Golf Whiskey 0 Foxtrot Zulu Yankee.
Yeah, GW0FZY G3YJO. Very good morning, Justin, and a nice signal, 15 over 9. And interested to hear about your retro amplifier. Should look quite spectacular, I would have thought. Is it going to be one of those which has a sort of a glass panel so you can see everything glowing and so forth inside? Should be good. Morning to Stuart, sorry. 25 over 9. Everybody's got QSB this morning, so these are peak readings. And good morning to Jan, strength 7, perfectly Q5 on the 19 high power, running a 19 set low power at the moment, so just 2 watts out, 1 more watt than yesterday, 1 more power from yesterday on the 62 set, so hopefully it's getting out. I can switch on the amplifier if needed. Keith, 20 over 9 until we heard the burble and the rather sudden disappearance, so hopefully get that sorted. Paul, 30 over 9, Ray, 9 plus 5, Colin, 9, actually peaking 20 over 9, Colin, very nice signal, but quite deep QSB, and Ian around about 10 over 9. So there we go. Paul, when you come on, or anybody else who does that, any suggestions on I might nip to Halfords or something like that and get some grease, because the lithium grease I've got at the moment is sort of a car lube grease. It's quite a light grease, which seems to work perfectly well, but you're probably right, it needs something a bit stickier. So if you can make a recommendation, because I'm not a car weenie, so I'm not very familiar with the greases. So if you've got any readily available greases I can pick up in Halfords, then point me in the right direction, it'll be helpful. Right, it goes on to Keith, so hopefully you've recovered Keith, but if not, I think it then goes on to Ian, but I may be wrong, and Paul, you can pop in. So G3XGW, hopefully resurrected, G3YJO.
Yes, G3YJO, G3XGW. Yes, fine, well, I'll come back on the same way. I haven't done anything. I want to actually see if the fault is going to do what I think it's going to do. Yes, it is. Yeah, it's modulator problem. So I'll come back on another rig later. Over to you, Ian.
G3XGW, M1PBC, check I've got it. Yep, okay. Let's have a look. Yes, according to my list, I'm in the right place here. Yeah, okay, Keith, modulator problem. Okay, well, that's interesting. Obviously, I'd be very interested to know finally what it is. Having a couple of the things here. So, yeah, very interesting. Well, okay, and Martin, well, great. I don't think I can actually point you to a product. I would have to do a little bit of research on the internet, which is probably what you could do. It's a pity that we're not nearer, because I have a big can of grease from the 1930s here under the Snowdrift label, and it is exceedingly sticky, because it's the sort of grease in the old cars they used to grease up the springs to stop them going rusty and stop them squeaking, and what they needed was a grease that obviously under impact wouldn't squirt out all over the place, and that would be ideal for it, but difficult to get it to. But it might be possible if you get really stuck. I might have a little tub or something, but it probably is a case of going on the internet and looking at the greases. It's a pity that Les isn't on the air, because of course he used to work for an oil company, and I'm sure he would point you in exactly the right direction of the sort of grease brand names that would go by. But it's not just the thickness of the grease. You want something, as I say, that's sticky, and the only thing that would substitute for it that I know of is probably silicone grease, and again I think that comes in reasonably big tubs, and I think it's quite pricey, and you probably wouldn't get it at Halfords. Ian is quite right, of course, when he says he used to get under cars. Nobody maintains their car these days, and firms like Halfords really don't have much of a stock, and you'd need to go to a specialist car place really to get anything that you know was usable. Classic motorcycle or car shop. So you probably might track it down easier on the internet, eBay or something like that, than going to Halfords. But I'll give it some thought. I'll have a quick look on the internet. If I come across anything, I'll let you know. But as I say, what you want is something that will be good to take impact. Colin, if you're going to do that test, dress appropriately, because if it does splatter, it's going to go everywhere. And cover you from head to foot if you're still listening. He probably isn't, so there you go. Let's give some reports. Stuart, 25 over with me. Yeah, by all means tell me off, Stuart. I'm a badly behaved dog though. I don't take too much notice. To me, if you're going to an auction, you really do need to see what you're buying. That's the point of going. So you've got to give people some time to look through what they're buying. And if you don't be surprised that they have sneak previews. And Justin, you're 15 over. Nice signal on the, I think you said it was a Syncal. And yes, that amplifier sounds very interesting indeed. Hope you're going to put a suitable clip on YouTube or send us pictures of it when you get it up and running. And yes, it's got to be exposed. You've got to be able to see those rectifiers. So the glass panel is absolutely essential. So there you go. And well, let's keep it going round. Goes to Ian, F4 VSC, M1 PVC.
Yeah, okay. Well, good morning. Sorry, Stuart, I should have called you in. And good morning to Justin. Stuart, you're 5 and 9 plus 5, and Justin, you're 5 and 9 on the Syncal. I shall attempt to readjust my frequency. Earlier on, this transmitter was skipping around. So just for the joiners, this is a Bendix TA12 running through my SP200 amplifier. Yes, well, of course, yes, you need to look at an auction. I mean, on the way that we run VMARS auctions, of course, it's not possible to do this with most auctions. You get a viewing day, so you can go and have a good look. More than one day in a lot of cases, but then permanently situated in a particular location. And I understand, you know, there's a balance between having the time for people to view the sale items and having sufficient time to auction them all off. I think from memory, I used to, when Carolyn was running her business, I used to attend quite a few auctions for her, and the running rate was usually 120 lots an hour. So they didn't hang about, but again, you had the opportunity to have a good scout around beforehand. Nothing else to add, so I think I may make this a final. Martin, you're still 5 and 8. Sorry that you still got the problem there, Keith. But again, you came in, started off with a beautiful signal. So no doubt you'll eventually get to the bottom of that and be very interested to hear what it is. Okay, Justin on the Mercury Vapor rectifier. So the KWS1 had those in it. The transmitter had the Collins had those in it originally, and in fact mine has still got them in there, although they're disconnected. And the rectifiers are solid state. I can't remember what they are now, but they're very high spec. Very high spec ones. But they're not lit up, which is a shame, because I think they glow blue, don't they? It's mercury vapor, so they do look very smart. You put some flashing lights on the top as well. Really make it a bit of bling. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. And say very good morning. And it goes over to Ray still. And we'll be interested to hear more about the 19 set Ray when it's done and dusted. Oh, and by the way, I didn't hear Jan at all. Not a peep. G3VTD with the rest of the group. This is F4 VSC signing. I'll listen for a little while, and then I'm going to have some breakfast. Good morning.
Yeah, signing in from G3VTD. DX40. Excuse me. The crystal's sat in the DX40 and it's not being used, so I suppose I could plug it back into this rig and then not be worrying about the frequency stability. The VFO is pretty good in this, actually. I built it donkeys years ago and spent a lot of time on the bulk of the drift. It does shift a couple of 100 hertz or so, but overall it's pretty reliable. Yeah, I'll make this a final. I'm working today, and it's quite a nice day actually for what I want to do, and quite looking forward to it. But it's going downhill as the week goes on. It's not much before as we pick up this northerly airstream, so it may not be as pleasant as the week goes on. Just a realistic on the thing, Carl. Slightly tight audio on it, but that's the nature of the rig, so not a critical comment, just a comment on the style of the audio. Excuse me. Martin, you were quite readable on the 2 watts from the 19 set, so quite a nice signal. The frequency has been very clear this morning. We're absolutely delighted with it. All the sideband boys seem to have kept away today, so it's quite a pleasure really when the frequency is clear and you can hear everybody. Jan, if you're still listening, you were about 5 or 7 with me actually, in the north of England. Not a problem receiving you, but I think the station is a little bit further afield, we're struggling, but we could certainly have made a QSO of it with the 5 and 7 from you. And yes, I'll get the information to you. You know, I didn't see the point of sending it down in dribs and drabs, and I thought I'll get the thing actually in a position where I can actually transmit on it, and then give you the information. I'll send you the basic format. I'll show you the bits of circuitry that triggered my imagination and led me to believe that it could be modulated from the outside through the key sockets, because effectively the screen comes out to the key jack. So a nice access point to put an external screen modulator on. So I'll send you the circuit, but the details of it I'll not send on until I've got it finalised, but it's working fine from the signal generator. It's given approximately, we get on towards 10 watts out, and modulated on the screen, but at the moment I want to get it modulating with the signal generator. So we'll get the carbon mic coupled up at the front end, and then I'll be able to switch between the two, between the barefoot 2 watts of the 19 set and then the slightly higher input. The efficiency is quite poor actually. I plotted some last night and it's about 13% efficient in its original format, and I got it up to about 24-25% by pushing the power output up. So it'll be interesting to get some figures together at the end of it all. Right, I'm going to say some threes and hopefully catch you all tomorrow, and I'll try and get the food information down to you, Stuart, for the auction. I'm looking forward to coming down. So from me it's round to you, Martin, and I'll bid you all a very good morning. G3YJO, G3VTD signing, and speak to you tomorrow hopefully.
Should go to Stuart.
Over to you, Stuart, G3YJO.
Yeah, I missed that. I'm about to go ahead.
Yes, go ahead please, Stuart.
Yep, from G0TBI. Okay, guys. Well, everybody's copied here anyway. And Keith was a lovely signal when he came in for that brief last transmission. I'm not sure what radio he's on though. I wasn't on earlier enough to know what that was. So I'm going to go off and do other things now and get ready to go ahead. I'd like to be underway by about 10:15. Get over to Cosford for about 10:10, and then see what the post has got in store, and also touch base with 1 or 2 people, and maybe even get on the air. And Thursday we're having our linear readdressed. We have a linear amplifier there, and I forget, to be honest with you, which one it is. It'll come back to me later. Is it the FL7100 or something? Anyway, long story short, two very kind people, one a RAFARS member and one not a member, came across and sorted it all out, fitted it all in place for me, and tweaked it all up, and we were good to go on sort of 2015-10. And then somebody else came in the shack 3 or 4 weeks later and took it out of circuit, and of course in doing so adjusted all the settings. So it was very naughty. So they're going to come back again on Thursday this week and redo it, but this time we're going to run through the whole band, 80-40, 15, sorry, 80-40, yeah, etc, etc. 80-40, 20-15-10. Forgetting the 10 megahertz there, and because when that linear is on, it's really potent out of the 3-element beam. So I'd like to know how it performs with the Carolina Windham that's there. So cheers to everybody. I'm not going to stay on. I think it goes to just enough to me. Although where did Jan appear in the proceedings? PA3 FAU. Not sure if it needs to go to Jan. He came in before me last time, Paul. But if you can hear me, Jan, goedemorgen. And the team is in the way now till the meeting at Calculated Brook. So looking forward to that. And hopefully I can find my bulb. You may have seen the advert on the SRS marked yesterday, Jan. And I've also put it, excuse me, I've also put it on the VMARS website, just a photograph of that balloon, that bulb, which I forgot what it's called now. It's an SES. I don't know what SES stands for. Perhaps it's screw something. But that's the type of bulb that it is. 28 volts, 0.08 amps. I said watts yesterday and I was thinking of something else. 7.3, leave me to it. G0TBI now, just listening in the background, but getting ready to go out. Bye for now.
7-3 Stuart, Jan was a one and only, so it does go to Justin, you're quite right. Have a good day, Stuart. GW0 FZY M1PBC.
GW0 FZY returning, yep, thanks Paul, and 73 is to Stuart. Yeah, I never really heard Jan on the first time round, Paul. I'm not sure if I gave him the report, but I didn't really hear him at all. Thought we were just not making the skip. But anyway, 73 is to Stuart, and yeah, I'll probably make this my final as well, actually. I've got to just finish off some metal bashing. I've got to finish drilling off a frame for this power supply, and I've got to take it to the powder coaters to be painted. Because end of this week we're going away up to the lakes for a week. So I thought if I can take the flame down to the powder coaters, then they can have it for a week, and hopefully by the time I get back it should be ready. Anyway, I'll say 73. It's nice to be on in the mornings. Again, haven't been on for a while. But anyway, I'll pass it over to you, Paul. Oh no, it goes to Martin next, doesn't it? Anyway, 73 to everybody, and have a good morning. G3YJO in the group from GW0FZY. Signing, just listening for a few more minutes.
Yeah, quick break if I can, Martin.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just interested what you're running this morning. You're not your usual thundering signal. I did note that you were a bit down to about 5 and 5, 5 and 6, Martin, go.
Yeah, G0TBI G2YJO. Yes, I'm on a wireless set 19, wireless set 19, barefoot, so it's just 2 watts here, Stuart, go ahead.
Yep, okay, 5 and 7, but consistent though. Thank you for that, lovely 5 and 7 there. And yes, I would dearly love to get some more juice out of my 19 high power station. I think I've sort of said to you before, I can only seem to get about 15 watts out of it. It's the RF amp number 2, Martin. What should I be getting realistically?
Yeah, G3YJO, well, about that actually. If you're getting 15 watts out of the RF amplifier number 2, then that's about par for the course. You can improve it a bit, but by changing doing a small change on the output circuit, just shifting a wire, but 15 watts, if you're getting 15 watts out of a 19 set high power, I mean it's high power in, not necessarily high power out, G0TBIYJO.
Yeah, copy Martin, thanks for that. You're the font of all knowledge when I think it comes to WS equipment, so I defer to your superior knowledge. And by the way, before you ask the question, I still haven't done anything with my 52 set. I think once the weather improves and I can get down in that shack proper, where it's not too chilly, I can go through a few basic tests, and I'll probably be asking you via email what I should be doing to see whether we can elicit any good quality RF out of it. It was putting out RF, but I'm still a bit uncertain as to the setup of the output cable from the transmitter. But we can talk about that further down. 73 everybody, sorry to interrupt. Back to you, Martin.
Yeah, G3YJO. No problem, Stuart. Happy to help. And yeah, well, I mean, you should. That 52 set transmitter, when I tried it out here, worked fine. So I don't think you should have any difficulties with it. So when the weather warms up, get it up and running, and we'll see if we can get it to do its business. Anyway, running, as I say, the 19 set low power. I was going to have a look and see exactly what is coming out of it. Well, according to this, according to 1 meter, and a little bit more from another. Well, I'm not quite sure which is which there, so we'll see. Anyway, I'm just going to switch to high power because I switched on the high power unit, and that might make things a bit easier. Right, this is the 19 set so-called high power unit, and this is running 15 watts now of carrier. So this is about what you should be getting. It's actually probably a little bit better than what I expect you would get from a standard high power unit, because this one, it's completely standard circuitry, with the exception that the output tank circuit has been, the tapping has been changed, which makes a better match into a 75, well, yeah, sort of 50/75 ohm system as opposed to a whip antenna. So there we go, that's all right. Let me see what else. The grease. Well, yeah, okay, Paul. Well, I was just having a quick look on the internet, and of course there's more different types of grease than you could shake a stick at, which isn't a great help. I'm not a mechanical. I don't have a mechanical bent. I consider mechanics a necessary evil to house electronics, basically. But that's why I approach this with some trepidation. Many years ago in my youth, I decided I needed to understand how the internal combustion engine worked, so I took a 190 apart and into its component bits and tried to reassemble it, and I ended up with several bits left over, and it sort of worked, but it was never very good, and I came to the conclusion that that sort of mechanics and I don't go well together. But that's why I was a bit wary about undoing this epicyclic gear, because when I did something like this before, then there's a whole pile of springs that shot out all over the room, and that was the end of that. So this was quite well behaved, so I feel a bit more comfortable with it, but I'm not an expert on greasy stuff, so I'll have a look. I had a quick look on the internet, and as I said, there's thousands of types of grease, and it's difficult to determine which ones are going to be gungier than any others. So I suppose I could, well, I could drop in a Halfords. I suppose I could also drop into one of the car service places and see if they can, give me a little pot of something. But there we go. Anyway, right. The lithium grease is sort of quite, also, it's quite runny, because if you leave it at the end of its tube, it will drip off. And that seemed to be okay, so if all else fails, I'll use that. Right. Anyway, enough of such dreary substances. I guess, I'm not sure whether Keith, having resurrected and then disappeared back down into the dungeon, so to speak, I don't know if you're still on, Keith. So I'll pass it on to you, then I think after, if Keith doesn't pick it up, I think it was Paul that was next on the list. So there we go. So G3XGW, oh, by the way, Justin, I forgot to say, 15/9, very nice signal, and look forward to seeing pictures of the retro amp. Whoops, G3XGW, G3YJO.
G4JQT.
YJ, nothing heard. I heard JQT, but on to you, Paul.
Yep, okay, would the JQT station like to go ahead, M1 PVC, and put it back to me?
Yes, good morning, gentlemen.
Norfolk, building a DX-60. I just thought I'd come and give you a shout out to see you all. I'll give a report next time round, but the previous station was about 5 and 7 and M1 PVC about 5 and 9, using the matching HR10B receiver, which is not a very good receiver, but it's decent as well as frequency and it's working quite well too. So, PVC, I've got your name somewhere down here, can't find it right now. Round 2 M1 PVC, from G4 JQT in the net.
G4 JQT, M1 PVC, yes, good morning Ian. You're on the list. So, yeah, you're a perfectly good Q5 signal. You're hovering about a 9 with me, so not too strong by other stations' measurement, so to speak, because conditions are pretty good with me at the present moment. But nevertheless, as I say, pretty good signal, so good to hear from you. And group is diminishing now, so you'll get a report from others. Let me say 7-3 to the stations that have actually gone, which is Ian in Brittany, VSC, Ray VTD, Stuart G0TBI, and Stuart, yeah, don't worry about interruptions, that's what this net is about. We're easy going, so if you've got something to say, anybody wants to break in, just put in a break call between overs and have your say. I don't think that upsets anybody. And Justin GW0SZ9 73 to you, Justin. Lakes, whoa, it's going to be a bit cool up there. You're a hardy man though, so I hope you enjoy that. And Martin, about a 10 dB difference between low power and high power here, but you were 5/9 on low power, so no problem with your signal. I just looked quickly on the internet, and under Flea Bay there is an interesting little tub of grease, unfortunately a lot more grease than you need. It calls itself Lucas Red and Tacky Grease, so it's for marine use, but it might be something to look for. So it's Lucas Red N for November, in inverted commas, Tacky Grease. As I say, it's just quickly looking. I haven't had time to really study the stuff, but it does look the sort of stuff that might do the job, and it might be available in smaller quantities. There might be other. I just put sticky grease into Google and it gave me all sorts of hits, but I haven't had time to really go through them and work out. But what you want, as I say, is a grease that is not only lubricant but slightly sticky, or even grossly sticky. So there you go. Anyway, we've got most of the people now have gone. Keith didn't come back, so he's obviously looking for his problem. So it does come back to you then, Martin. Just the three of us, in Ian in Norfolk, yourself and me. G3 YJO M1 PVC.
Yeah, G3 YJO, and very good morning to Ian, G4 JQT. I think we had a chat. I'm just having a look. I thought we had a chat a couple of days ago now, a bit later in the day or something. So good to hear you on, Ian. And about strength 8, perfectly Q5. And so I noticed a little bit of noise coming up around, so I switched on the high power, so-called high power unit. So this is the 19 set Mark III with the RF amplifiers number 2. Mark II, 4807s producing a magnificent 15 watts. There we go. Anyway, yeah, okay, noted on the grease. I did pop that in, had a look, and see there's sort of a tacky marine grease, which isn't quite right. I'll just have a think and see if there's anybody. I doubt Screwfix is the other one that's local. I sort of doubt they have it, but I'll have a look and see. And I'm just trying to think. There's no marine shops around here, unfortunately, not that I'm aware of, anyway. I'd sort of quite like to get on with it today, so I'll see what I can find. Anyway, I mean, I guess I can wait a bit if necessary, but I'm quite keen to get this get this particular thing finished because everything else has been done now. I was literally just about to sort of pack it up, put it in its case, and then I was sort of looking at it and thinking, well, I don't know, the tuning knob is a bit sort of stiff and lumpy, and the tuning is not terribly smooth. I then thought, well, no, I'm not going to let it go. I'll try and get that fixed. So luckily, I don't have to take all the front panel and everything else off. Just strip down the RF tuning section. And I did actually think about removing the tuning capacitor because I noticed that it looks a bit grubby, and I was wondering putting that into the washing machine and sort of trying to clean that up a bit and so on, but that's a little bit more fiddly because you've got to desolder stuff, and so I'm sort of hesitating. Let's see if I can get away without doing that. Anyway, over to Ian. See if you're copying. So you're a good strength 8 Q5, and good to hear you on Ian. And then you can put it on back to Paul. G4JQT, G3YJO with M1 PVC.
G3YJO. I've got my icon R75 receiver connected to a Dayton loop, a Dayton dipole or a Welbrook loop, and right, yeah, I'm with you on the mechanics, Martin. I've restored old radio and TV stuff in the car. And done one before, it worked very well, and I've got another one of the rarer black and chrome one which I'm restoring. And taken the output transformer, the main transformer, and the RF and the power supply station. Warming them up and got one of them done, and I dropped it, and I've broken I think the surface of the wires on the well, not complicated, but it's got slow motion drive, and it's got quite a few bits and pieces in it. It's got a big dial that goes to the big dial pointing to the lamp that goes around behind the dial. Do damage or not, so I was doing all that with a wire brush and I've got a little Dremel wire brushes on it as well. Very effective, but they're really nasty to get the about half an inch, maybe a bit of an inch spin around your 12-volt drill.